Are we winning or losing the battle for our gun rights? Stay tuned and I'll fill you in. Hey everyone, this is Erich Pratt from Gun Owners of America, and I want to thank you for watching and welcome you to the 2022 VCDL Lobby Day. Now, I want to give you a federal report and fill you in on some of the great successes that we had last year. As you know, anti-gun Democrats control the White House as well as the House and Senate, so in theory, they could pass and sign into law anything they want. And that means for us to even stop gun control in Washington is no small task. But I'm happy to report that gun control in Congress went down in flames last year. So let me just bring you up to speed with the battles that we've been winning, and then I'll talk a little bit about Virginia. My hope is that this is going to be rather encouraging for you, because frequently, we hear people say, well, what difference does it make? I mean, no matter what we do, Congress or state legislators, they're going to pass whatever they want to pass, so why even bother? Well, first off, let me remind you that working together with VCDL, we were able to kill the semi-auto ban here in Virginia in 2020. Even Democrats in this state have admitted that it was the very loud grassroots opposition that made all the difference in defeating the ban. Same thing with the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. The Washington Examiner credited VCDL and Gun Owners of America as the ones that jump-started that movement here in this state. But truly, it was really the result of the grassroots doing the heavy lifting, because Virginians showed up at Board of Supervisor meetings. They spoke out. They demanded that local officials tell Governor Blackface that counties weren't going to help him enforce any of his gun control agenda. And now, over 90% of the localities in Virginia are Second Amendment sanctuaries, I'm happy to report. I mean, that's huge. And really, the grassroots deserve a big part of that credit for those victories. Anyway, that was Virginia in 2020. So now get ready, because I want to look at just some of the victories that gun owners scored around the country in 2021. So are you ready? All right, well, let's begin with our victory in stopping a gun confiscation bill this past fall. I'm talking about the National Defense Authorization Act. It's a must-pass bill that they got to pass every year. But anti-gun congressmen had snuck a red flag gun confiscation provision into it. And to make matters worse, more than 100 Republicans voted for that anti-gun bill in the fall. So GOA sent out an alert to our grassroots gun owners. And because of that alert, our members and activists bombarded the compromising congressman. I mean, they were blasted on social media, they were blasted in person. Anywhere and everywhere they showed their faces. In fact, the backlash was so strong that it spurred a quick about face 1 week later. In a letter that was made public, 163 Republicans announced their opposition to the red flags provision, for which many of them had just voted. Well, thankfully, the gun confiscation text was removed from the underlying bill 3 months later, and final legislation passed both chambers without gun control. I mean, again, this is a huge victory, and it was brought about because grassroots gun owners, like GOA members, contacted their legislators and held them accountable. So that was one huge victory from 2021. Another grassroots victory involved our efforts to kill universal background checks. GOA caught wind of a compromise proposal that was in the works. Compromise. It was between Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn and some anti-gun Democrats. So Gun Owners of America quickly put out an alert to expose what was happening. Well, GOA members bombarded Cornyn, who then promptly pulled the plug on the negotiations. I mean, you see there again, it was GOA members and activists who killed the compromise. When grassroots gun owners speak out in unison, I mean, that lets politicians know that they're being watched, and really it strikes fear into their hearts. Look, defeating the nationwide implementation of universal background checks is an important battle. I mean, I know that we already have them here in Virginia, but we're going to be pushing to repeal the state law. And by the way, GOA and VCDL are challenging that law in state court. But we don't just want to repeal it at the state level, only to get stuck with universal background checks and gun owner registration at the federal level. Background checks are unconstitutional, and forcing people to get permission from the government before they can exercise their God-given rights is wrong. You know, our rights are not given to us by government. If that were the case, then our rights would just be mere privileges. Our founding fathers got it right. They said in the Declaration of Independence that everyone is endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. You see, our rights are given to us by God, and that's what makes our rights unalienable. I mean, that word means that our rights can't be revoked or diminished in any way. That's why the Second Amendment says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, at GOA, that's how we defend this important right. We don't tolerate any infringements. Background checks, gun bans, licenses and fees, NFA restrictions, they're all infringements. They've all got to be repealed. So dismantling gun control is important, but so is also defeating the gun control advocates who want to implement gun control. That's equally important. And that's why perhaps the biggest loss of Biden's gun control agenda was the defeat of David Chipman's nomination to head the ATF. You know, gun owners quickly realized how bad Chipman would have been for the Second Amendment. He's a career gun control lobbyist. He's a former ATF agent. I mean, the list goes on and on. But gun owners made so much noise to key senators that even liberal outlets like NPR and the New York Times credited GOA members as a reason for the nomination being withdrawn. I mean, this is a huge victory that can't be understated. Grassroots gun owners made this happen. That was huge. So score one for the Second Amendment troops and a big 0 for the administration. All right, let me just say, there's a lot more victories that I could mention at the federal level, and you can read about them on the GOA website at gunowners.org. But just know, it is because of grassroots gun owners that gun control was stopped in Congress. It's also because of grassroots gun owners that 5 new states joined the Constitutional Carry Club. Those are the states of Tennessee, Iowa, Montana, Utah, and Texas. And I want you to see, I would love to see Virginia added to that list someday soon. But anyway, this past year, in addition to getting those constitutional carry states, we also passed Second Amendment sanctuary laws in more than half a dozen states. As of now, more than 60% of the counties in this country, and that includes some states in their entirety, they've all told the federal government that they will not help the feds to enforce gun control. That's a huge rebuke to Joe Biden's gun control agenda. Speaking of Second Amendment sanctuaries, GOA also squared off against Bloomberg's Every Town for Gun Safety in an Oregon court of law. Every town and a county commission were attempting to undo a citizen-passed Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance. So GOA came into the state to defend the measure, and ultimately, the court sided with GOA and sent Bloomberg back to New York with a big loss. I mean, this was a big victory, because if Bloomberg can use the courts to strike down these laws, it will kill the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. That's what he's trying to do. I mean, like a set of dominoes, we would just see Second Amendment sanctuary laws overturned, including the ones here in Virginia. So that victory in Oregon was a huge win. Look, we're going to need to do a lot of work this year. In 2022, we have an opportunity to take back Congress from the gun controllers and make up meaningful ground in the states. It's an election year, and so we're going to have to do our part, not only in getting to the polls, but making sure we encourage our pro-gun friends and family to get to the polls. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching today. Don't forget to sign up with VCDL. They do fantastic work. And I'd love you to join and become a GOA member too if you're not already. So please go to gunowners.org to do that. And while you're on our site, make sure you sign up for our free email alerts. Well, that's it for now. I want to thank you so much for watching.